Nuking in Warframe has become a staple for almost every single Warframe in the game, but in my opinion, none of them do it like Nezha and Nezha Prime. This Warframe can nuke entire rooms in a couple of seconds, destroy acolytes and make Steel Path an incredible breeze, with survivability and damage out the wazoo. Everything you would honestly want in a Warframe. So, without delays, let's quickly hop into today's video. Nezha is a Warframe that has been getting a lot of love from DE and some nerfs because at one point he was uncontrollably good. Nowadays, his nuking is a little bit less, but believe me, it is still incredibly good. In my opinion, as I said, considering one of the best nuking Warframes in the game. But not only the abilities, the actual looks themselves kill. And this is the fashion frame for my lovely Nezha. This is what he looks like. These are all the attachments, the color scheme that I use, and all alongside the signed Dana as well. I do love this deluxe skin. Looks really cool. And Nezha, as a Warframe, has a really cool design as well. Now, what's also going to be very cool is, if you're interested, clicking that subscribe and that bell icon when I upload a video. It is very much appreciated by me, alongside hitting that like button and commenting down below on what you think of the fashion frame and the build that's going to be coming up right now. And now, we can start with the passive. First of all, his passive will allow you to slide 60% faster and go 35% further, which is going to be pretty good, but I do not like this passive that much, and I'm going to be using the augment mod called Controlled Slide to basically disable his passive, but also increasing your power strength by an additional 15%, which is very nice. And the first ability is going to be Firewalker. Firewalker will increase your movement speed, and it will leave a path of fire behind you, dealing damage to enemies and also stunning them as well. Honestly, as an ability, it's pretty good movement-wise, but we're gonna replace it with two other abilities. The first ability being Pyrotechnics from Temple. This ability will allow you to summon pillars of fire in front of you and put heat damage on enemies. And this heat damage and those heat procs are gonna get multiplied a lot. You're gonna be able to place around 200-300 heat procs on an enemy, and that is what it's gonna allow you to nuke. But we'll get to the details in just a second. The second ability that you can use is going to be Dante's Dark Verse. This will apply slash on enemies in front of you and a really good amount of slash, dealing a pretty good amount of damage, but we're all gonna pair that with the other abilities in the build. But the second ability, Blazing Chakram. You launch a Chakram at enemies that is going to be dealing heat damage, bouncing between enemies, and if you press the second key again, you're going to be able to teleport to it. The other cool thing is you can actually hold down this ability to toss the Chakram faster and further, and you can also teleport to it, making this ability pretty good for maneuverability and applying heat damage onto enemies. And the best thing about this ability is the enemies affected by Blazing Chakram will have an additional chance of dropping health and energy orbs, which is going to help you out with your economy and survivability as well. And what's going to help you out with survivability the most is going to be Warding Halo. Warding Halo will make you invincible, you will absorb incoming damage, you can actually see the full calculation, how is it calculated up on screen right now, and you can gain a maximum of 90% damage reduction. And honestly, this ability is going to keep you alive your entire gameplay, and try to have this ability active pretty much all of the time. And now, let's move on to the main ability of today's show. It is Divine Spears. This ability will allow you to impale enemies, dealing puncture damage, also making them more vulnerable to damage as well. And by pressing this ability one more time, you can slam the enemies onto the ground, dealing impact damage. Now, pretty much not that good in and of its own, but if you use the augment mod for this ability, Divine Retribution, this is the ability that is going to allow you to nuke. And I do mean instantaneously nuke enemies. First of all, what does it actually do? So, status effects on a speared enemy will spread to all speared enemies, and the spear explosion is going to apply a 1.5 times status damage multiplier. But the thing that has gotten changed on this augment mod is going to be that the base radius is reduced to 14 meters. Don't you worry, we're going to find a worker way around it. To quickly explain how does this actually function. First of all, heat, slash and toxin procs because they have tick damage over time. What this is going to do is combine all of the remaining tick damage into one single instance with that damage multiplier. And all of that applied is gonna deal millions, and I do truly mean millions of damage to enemies. So instead of it doing it over time, it's gonna do it in one instance, and the enemies, I have to say, literally evaporate right in front of you. Now that we have talked about abilities, you're probably wondering, what does the Nezha build actually look like? Well, you can see it up on screen. In the aura slot, we have growing power, we have controlled slide, as I mentioned earlier, we have stretch, fleeting expertise, Augur Reach, Divine Retribution, we have Overextended, Transient Fortitude, Precision Intensify, Equilibrium, we also have Molt Augmented and Arcane Energize in the Arcane slots. Now, you might be saying, our duration is 13%. The main aspect of this build is to make your duration as low as possible. If you do not use some other parts of this video, which I'll explain in just a second, then you can put on a fleeting expertise that is 1 less leveled up, so it's 4 instead of fully maxed out, which will make sense in just a second. But before that, we want to cover the Archon Shards of choice. We have 2 yellow ones, Tau Forged yellow ones, which are going to give us casting speed. We have 2 red ones that are going to increase our power strength by total 20%, and then 1 Tau Forged blue one, giving us additional energy. If you do not have the 2 Tau Forged yellow ones, because of the casting speed being quite slow and your fourth ability lasting really short, you are gonna put that fleeting expertise level 4 instead of level 5 because you might not be able to time it right. But what's gonna help you out even more, and this is honestly the first time that I highly recommend this, is the Focus School of Choice. Madurai is gonna be so good. Power transfer will allow you, from switching from your operator to Warframe, give you additional 50% casting speed, which is going to be so good. And then we have Sling Strength. When you sling a couple of times as your operator, then switching to your Warframe, you are going to gain 40% additional power strength. Honestly, out of all of the Warframes in the game, this is one of the Warframes where your Focus School is very much useful. So this is a secret tip. I guess not that much of a secret considering you actually have a chapter in the video, but I would highly recommend you use this. Now that we have covered everything first build-wise, considering you're going to be using the same Archon Shards and the same Focus School of Choice, the second build for Nezha with Dark Verse, if you do not have Pyrotechnics, is going to be, as I mentioned, Dark Verse Nezha. And this is what the build looks like. Honestly, it's pretty much the same build. The only difference, as I said, is you're not applying heat, you're applying slash, and that's pretty much it. I have noticed that the damage is a little bit less with Dark Verse. That's why my primary build is the Pyrotechnics one. But if you haven't sacrificed Temple to the Helminth system, this is the build that I would go for. They're not, I guess, cheap in any sort of way, but believe me, it is well worth it. Now let's talk weapons. Considering Divine Retribution applies its actual effect of combining status damages all into one, no matter the source, you are gonna be well off by using a weapon that is gonna allow you to apply a lot of status effects. The ones that I use are, first of all, the Compressor Prime. This is what the build looks like. I like using the Compressor Prime. Its reach is not as big as, for example, some other weapons like the Epitaph, but this weapon is actually capable of dealing decent amounts of damage, especially to Acolytes, so I would highly recommend it. If you do not like this weapon, do not have it maybe, you can use the Epitaph or the Epitaph Prime. This is what the Epitaph Prime build looks like, so you can use this. And my personal favorite weapon is gonna be the Cedo Prime, which the build is up on screen right now. This weapon will allow you to apply loads of status effects on many different enemies with its alt fire, and it's actually really good at killing acolytes and enemies as well, but enemies not that much important considering you have your fourth ability. Now that we covered the weapons, let's cover our companion of choice, and honestly the best choice here is gonna be Nautilus Prime or Nautilus. With Cordon, you are gonna be able to drag enemies in, and if you use Hellstrom, you can actually see both of the builds right up on screen now. You're gonna be able to apply loads of status effects. As you can see on our Hellstrom, we have gas, magnetic, radiation, and the cold. And considering you're going to be using a primer, you're going to be applying these and plus many other different elements, combining them all into one and having a damage multiplier as well. And now let's cover how you actually play this build. First of all, activate Warding Halo just so you have your 90% damage reduction, and no matter if you're using Dark Verse or Temple's Pyrotechnics, cast your 4th ability and then just aim your Pyrotechnics or Dark Verse onto enemies, and it's gonna automatically slam them onto the ground and they just evaporate. Rinse and repeat, that's pretty much it. You can use your 2nd ability when you really need to for maybe some extra energy or health orbs, and it is going to be pretty good because with your 4th ability it synergizes very well, summoning another Chakram, which is gonna affect even more enemies, and considering it applies heat, it is going to be very good. And that's pretty much it. That's how you play Nezha. Honestly, this Warframe is so easy to use. You can make him usable in pretty much 99% of situations. The only situation where you're a little bit in trouble is Acolytes, because you can't really spear Acolytes with your 4th ability, meaning you're gonna have to have a weapon or maybe even a melee weapon that's gonna be able to get rid of them. But you're not gonna have a lot of trouble, considering Pyrotechnics and Dark Verse can do pretty substantial damage to Acolytes. Other than that, I do truly hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. I'm very interested in that. Also, leave a like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, all of that lovely stuff. As I said, very much appreciated by me, and I love every single one of you that does that. And this has been your lovely host, the Gaming Weasel, over and out.